WrestleMania 38 Night 2 ended the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania of all time. And it was a little bit of a mixed bag. I'll get to my overall thoughts on the show at the very end. We're going to go through each segment, each match on the card individually first. Before we get to that, though, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Like I said, there were a lot of things that I liked, some things that I really, really didn't like. And it could not have started off, though, any better than it did. We start off WrestleMania with the game Triple H. The game's music hits. Triple H comes down in a suit, and he gets one of the most thunderous ovations I've ever seen, and one of the most well-deserved ovations we've ever seen. We know Triple H announces retirement due to the cardiac event that he had early, late last year. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. We know that Triple H, he's had his health concerns. He mentioned in an interview with Stephen A. Smith earlier this past month that he is, in fact, retired from the ring because of those heart issues. And he came out and he basically just did his whole Triple H thing, hugged his family. He did the spit thing with the water that everyone loves, and it was great. And he got just minutes on minutes on minutes of standing ovation that he so deserved. It was great. And at the end of it, he welcomed everyone to WrestleMania. With tears in his eyes, he left his boots in the ring, putting an end to one of the most illustrious careers in the history of professional wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. Triple H is a GOAT. And honestly, it was tearful to see. It was sad, but it was also well-deserved, like I said, because there's no better stage for Triple H to hang it up on than the shows in WrestleMania. Moving on to the first match that we saw on the card, the first official match was RK Bros defending their WWE Raw Tag Team Championships against the teams of the Street Profits, that's D'Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, as well as Alpha Academy, Otis, and Chad Gable. It didn't take long for all six men to get involved in the match, ending with Otis being the last man standing in the ring. I thought Otis actually did a lot of stuff great. He delivered a few suplexes, some top rope moves. Otis honestly had a really good match. Everyone had a good match in this, honestly. I thought this was probably, from an in-ring standpoint, definitely the best wrestling match on the show. We saw Montez Ford do what he does best, which is just fly over top ropes and fly over steel posts onto opponents on the outside. He did that. We also saw Chad Gable, who I think to this day is still the most underrated performer in WWE, do a Kurt Angle level moonsault, taking out everyone on the outside. And it got better from there. In the end, we saw Chad Gable go for a dive on Randy Orton, and he delivered an RKO in midair. Very nice RKO. Not as good as the one they had on Raw a few weeks ago with the same spot, but WWE doesn't think people watch Raw. Anyway, but Chad Gable ate the pinfall 1, 2, 3 in a very, very fun opener. Again, best wrestling match on the show. I thought all these teams really showed out, and then after the match, Street Profits proposed a toast to RK Bros, and they brought in Gable Steveson, who was at ringside. And as they toasted, Chad Gable knocked the drink out of Gable Stevenson's hands, and Gable Steveson, the big blue chip recruit for WWE, took his fellow Olympian for a ride, belly to belly overhead suplex, and look. It showcased Gable Steveson, the young guy, and I thought this was a really good way to kind of introduce him. Look for him moving forward to enter a feud with Chad Gable that will likely result in Chad Gable losing his last name, because WWE will never allow for two Gables to exist at once. Also, I do think that, look, if there's anyone who is really well suited to introduced Gable Steveson to the world of pro wrestling, and for his first feud, it is 100% Chad Gable, because he knows exactly what Gable Steveson is going through as coming from an amateur background, being an Olympian, and making that transition to WWE. I think Chad Gable is going to help him a lot. I also really do think that in-ring wise, Chad Gable is going to be able to really make this kid look good. So I can't wait to see some of those matches. I'm sure they're going to be really good showcases for him. Next match, we had Bobby Lashley taking on Omos in a match that I thought Omos was going to win. Like, I really thought Omos was going to pick up the victory in this match because the only value I really saw in the dude to begin with, if you're going to push him, was that someone young or someone who really isn't a made guy anymore gets to beat him as a showcase. Maybe someone like a Gable Stevenson gets to beat him. That wasn't the case because Bobby Lashley, after failing to lock in the Hurt Lock on multiple occasions, he went for a spear, but he hit him in the back. And the spear in the back, he kind of focused on the kidneys. He focused on the back of Omos. And look, Giants have back problems. Bobby Lashley's smart for that. But he went after him. And look, at the end, I think Omos actually showed a lot more than I thought he had, genuinely. Omos was doing, it was a lot of giant stuff, he was a lot of bear hugs, rest spots, whatever, right? But he was doing some moves that I thought were fairly impressive that I didn't even think he could do. His speed in the ring is a lot better than I thought it was. I think there's something there. There is something there. He's not as horrible as I think people reported that he was or people thought that he was. He's obviously not ready to, be an in-ring general. I don't think he's ever going to be that, but there's something there. I just don't know. I feel like this is just a match they put on the card to have the match, to have Bobby Lashley on the card. I don't think it was necessary if this is the way they were going to do it, but Bobby Lashley speared Omos for the 1-2-3 in 6 minutes. Not really heated match. The crowd wasn't really into it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. I mean, like I said, Omos did, I think, fairly well, but not really much to really say other than that. I have a lot to say about this match. Sami Zayn is a peach. I cannot overstate that anymore. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. Anything goes. No holds barred, whatever you want to call it. Zayn immediately hit a haluva kick on Johnny Knoxville, and Sami Zayn was kind of playing around with him. He didn't go for the pin in the beginning, and that's when I knew, oh, okay, this match is going to be a fun match. When I tell you I had so much fun watching this, I don't care what you want to call it, a match, a segment, whatever. To me, this reminded me in a lot of ways of WLC, in that it's is it a great technical match? Obviously not, but it's not supposed to be. It was a spectacle. It was funny. It was just mindless fun, and that sometimes is really needed in wrestling, especially on a show like this, to get you into the crowd, to get the crowd into things, to get me at home into things, and I think it just did that. Sami Zayn, he hit Johnny Knoxville with baking sheets. He hit Johnny Knoxville with trash cans, but Johnny Knoxville fired back. Not before Sami Zayn did a belly-to-belly overhead suplex into a table, taking out Knoxville, but he didn't come alone. Johnny Knoxville had help in the form of... I still can't believe this happened. Okay, in full disclosure, Wee Man came out from under the ring to attack Sami Zayn in this match. There were so many gags that I can't hit every single gag in this match. There were just so many gags, but Wee Man came out. And I marked that because I was like, oh, that's Hornswoggle. And then, because he had the haircut that Hornswoggle had, in his WWE run. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, that's Wee Man. It's Jackass, duh. So Wee Man came out, and he delivered an Andre the Giant level slam on Sami Zayn. Which, look, if you want to talk about proportion, Sami Zayn is a lot bigger than Wee Man than Andre was Hogan. So there you go. That's how impressive it is. Wee Man attacked Sami. They hit him, and then this allowed Johnny Knoxville to really take advantage in the match. And look, I know people say matches like these don't have stories. They don't make sense. There's no in-ring psychology. The in-ring psychology from the Jackass Boys was clear. Hit Sami Zayn in the no-nos, and they did that multiple times in this matchup. Johnny Knoxville, He at one point tasered him. He at one point took the bowling ball and rolled it right into the no-nos of Sami Zayn. That right there, I don't even know how to explain that. They had a contraption that kicked Sami Zayn right there, and that happened. And of course, Mae Young and Mark Henry's son showed up and smacked Sami Zayn as he was trying to escape from Johnny Knoxville's clutches. Johnny Knoxville then proceeded to trap Sami Zayn in a giant, and I mean giant mousetrap, pinning his shoulders down for the 1, 2, 3. Guys, this was all fun, pure entertainment. The match was a complete success. I don't care what anyone says. Dave Meltzer was complaining about it, and I like Dave, but this was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun, and on a card like this that didn't have a lot of really great in-ring action, at least it was entertaining. I was sports entertained. Moving on, we had the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team title match. Queen Zelina and Carmella defending against the teams of Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler versus Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Now, I complained about this match going in, saying that, it's a match to get them on the card. I understand that. The women's tag team titles in WWE on the main roster at least mean very little. I think the NXT women's tag team titles actually mean a lot more than these titles do. And that's saying a lot. I'm trying to give this match as much justice because there were some good moves. I loved Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan did a very, very good move where I think Ripley kind of powerbombed, I think it was Sasha Banks. I think she powerbombed Sasha Banks into Liv Morgan, who gave her a backstabber. I thought that was a great spot. There was a double suicide dive on the outside from Sasha Banks and Liv Morgan, who took out the rest of the competitors that the cameras completely missed. But I caught it in like the corner. I thought it was really cool. There were a lot of near falls. The women were hitting signature move after signature move. Naomi eventually hit a facebuster into Banks' knees to score the win. Look, this was a lot of fun. It was pure nonstop action. I did not like the Tower of Doom spot that they did. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan did the Tower of Doom spot. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I think it's one of the most overplayed and overdone things in tag team wrestling. Other than that, harmless fun. Again, was it the best? Not really. I think in the future, WWE needs to put a lot more stock into building up a tag team division because most of these teams, actually all of these teams, were just kind of put together at the last minute. I think it would behoove them to kind of legitimately have a tag team division where people just wrestle as tag teams and build that up and build up these alliances and allegiances in the future. Will they do it? I don't know. Anyway, Edge versus AJ Styles. Blueberry Edge came out in one of, I think, the best and coolest entrances I've ever seen. He came out to his awesome new theme with the blue lights and sitting on a throne on fire. It was so cool. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. The match itself, I thought it was pretty good. I think that I had my expectations kind of tempered. I did not, because when you think AJ Styles and Edge wrestling a match, you think, oh, okay, this is going to be one of the best matches ever. I tempered my expectations knowing the WWE style and knowing just what the story of the match was probably going to be. Match came down to AJ attacking Edge's knee, and Edge kind of focused on AJ Styles' shoulder to try to take away that phenomenal forearm. There were multiple spots where I thought the match was honestly going to be over. AJ Styles at one point hit the Styles Clash on Edge. I thought it was over. I was like, oh, okay, AJ's going over, and Edge kicked out. I didn't understand. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess we're still going. AJ then hit a 450 on to Edge, resulting in a near fall. Again, nothing going there. Eventually, AJ was able to set Edge up for a phenomenal forearm, but Damian Priest just stood there at ringside, who was not involved in the match, was not involved in the build of the match. Damian Priest just stood there, staring at Edge, not even looking at AJ, but it made AJ hesitate just long enough to allow Edge, as AJ is coming down for the phenomenal forearm, to hit a spear in midair, get the 1-2-3, and then after the match, Edge and Damian Priest look at each other, smile, and put their hands up, cementing what is going to be a new stable. We had heard rumors and reports that there was going to be a new stable comprised of Damian Priest and Edge, and I think we're getting it. Edge, when he came out with his entrance, he was wearing a vest that was kind of reminiscent of the Ministry Undertaker, and as you can see right here, I think there's a similar design right there with Damian Priest. I'm not saying it's going to be like exactly like that, but I think like that's kind of the vibe they're going for, more of a dark-rooted stable. I'm excited to see what happened. The match itself was good enough. It was a fine match. A lot better than this. New Day versus Ridge Holland and Sheamus. You got to wonder why they even had this match on the main card. Look, New Day came out in some really nice Big E inspired ring gear. They wore the Big E singlets. It was designed, I believe, after the same gear that Big E wore when he won the WWE title. That was really cool, and it would have been really cool if they had gotten the win. But the match lasted just about as long as, yeah, I don't even know. It just didn't last that long. It lasted like a minute and maybe 20 seconds. Sheamus and Ridge Holland picked up the victory after a Broad Kick distraction. And then after the match, I mean, Butch was just acting like a child and attacking someone. Not really much to say about this match. It sucked. Segment sucked. Waste of time. May God have mercy on you and award you no points. Or however you say that. Anyway, moving on to another really fun match on this card, or fun segment. I don't care what you call it. Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee. Austin Theory was introduced by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was actually at ringside for this match. That added a little twist and a little bit of an extra element to this matchup. And when he introduced Austin Theory, it was actually interesting. He said, "Future Universal Champion Austin Theory." Really brings back memories of when Vince did the same thing for Drew McIntyre when he was supposed to be the chosen one back in 2010. So hopefully it goes better for Austin Theory, or it goes quicker for Austin Theory. Like the ride to the Universal title goes quicker. Pat McAfee, though, had one hell of an entrance. Seven Nation Army starts playing. The Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders come out, and Pat McAfee comes out to I don't even know, just one of the biggest reactions I've ever seen. And it lasted this entire match. The crowd was doing the Seven Nation Army, oh. The entire match, they were completely behind Pat McAfee, as was Michael Cole on commentary. This was great. This was absolutely great. Look, was it a great in-ring match? No. Pat McAfee, like, he was just... Pat McAfee, I think, is going to be in the Shane McMahon spot where he's going to have a big match at WrestleMania every year, and I think we got to get used to it. And he's really good. He's entertaining, and he's charismatic. You want to root for him, right? So Theory got upset at the crowd for being behind McAfee, and they were really working the match based around suplexes. He was taunting Pat McAfee a lot. Pat McAfee at multiple times went for punts that didn't land. Pat McAfee eventually was able to get the schoolboy win in 1-2-3 on Austin Theory. And that was fine. It was entertaining. The crowd was really hot about it. The real story, though, is what happened immediately after that, where Vince McMahon, who, again, the reports were that Vince McMahon was going to wrestle Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. That was the rumor, right? That was the report. And it was proven right. After the match, McAfee taunted Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon took his shirt off, took his jacket off, revealing a tank top, revealing his jacked physique for the age of 76. And he had a wrestling match. He got a referee out there, and he had a match with Pat McAfee. My God, this was a spectacle. Obviously, Austin Theory got involved after Vince distracted the ref. And this allowed Vince McMahon to eventually use a football to punt Pat McAfee in the gut. And Eventually, Vince McMahon got the 1-2-3 victory over Pat McAfee. So Pat McAfee's undefeated record at WrestleMania ends at 1-0 on the same night it started. And as we see Vince McMahon hugging Austin Theory, again, McMahon hugging Austin at WrestleMania, we then hear the glass shatter and Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, because you can't have it. I don't care if it's 2 nights and he came out on night 1. You can't have any night of WrestleMania without Stone Cold in Dallas. He came out, and Vince McMahon knew exactly what was going to happen from the second Stone Cold came out. Austin went over to Austin Theory, gave him a stunner. Austin Theory gave one hell of a stunner, by the way. A really great stunner. He sold it like The Rock. He kept on flopping afterwards. It was great. And then he looks over at Vince, and Vince just was like, please don't do this. Please don't do it. Like, he knew exactly what was going to happen. He asked Austin, let's cheers. And Austin, he got him a drink. They did a cheers. And just when you think Vince is in the home, is home free, Austin says, hell no, and delivers the worst stunner in the history of stunners. Vince McMahon has taken a lot of bad stunners in his day. This was by far the worst. By far. Like, think about the worst stunner you've ever seen. Times that by 15. Times that by a million. Take that to the 86th power and divide that by 0.00066. Not even close to how bad this was. This was really bad. Look, Steve Austin obviously tried to work with Vince McMahon as much as he could. Vince, I think, just didn't have it in him. But he went down, and then afterwards, Pat McAfee came in to celebrate with Vince McMahon, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and ended up getting a stunner himself, which led to this amazing shot. Pat McAfee, after he had been stunned, downing a drink, regardless. But this was amazing. A+ for the segment. A+ for all of this. The crowd was into it. I was sports entertained. This was stupendous. Loved it. Moving on to the biggest match in WrestleMania history. Roman Reigns, WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, versus Brock Lesnar, WWE Heavyweight Champion. Title versus title unification, whatever you want to call it. Immediately had a big fight feel. The Roman Reigns came out first to his amazing theme. Look, I don't care what anyone says. The crowd was eating this up when both of these competitors were coming out. Big fight feel. It was absolutely stupendous in every single way. Brock Lesnar comes out and he looks jacked. He's Cowboy Brock Lesnar. By the way, his facial expressions today were on point as they could ever be, and he did great. Brock Lesnar starts off the match by taking off his gloves, exposing his bare knuckle fighting ability. Lesnar took the fight to Reigns. Reigns eventually speared him through the barricade, and this match, look, I have a few things in this match that I thought were not great. I thought that, look, any match you have Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, it's going to be Superman punch, spear, Superman punch, and then on the other side, it's going to be suplex, F5 suplex. That's what they're going to do. It's spectacle. Brock Lesnar beat a 10 count after a spear from Roman Reigns, and then Reigns followed that up with 2 Superman punches. Brock fought back to his feet, began laughing before countering another Superman punch into German suplexes. This match, I think it went 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something like that. And I thought at the end it could have gone a lot more. One of the finishing spots saw Brock, he caught a, excuse me. Again, my throat's going away, sorry. But Brock ended up catching Roman Reigns from a spear into a Kimura and had this crazed look on his face. And with the help of Paul Heyman, stretching the ropes inwards just enough for Roman Reigns to get there without the referee seeing, Brock was forced to break the pin, or break the hold, I should say. Lesnar then went for an F5, but the finish was really sudden as we saw Roman Reigns spear Brock Lesnar. 1, 2, 3. It. I thought this match was getting into another gear. I genuinely thought this match was getting into another gear. I thought this match had like maybe another 5 minutes in it. But one thing I've realized about Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, they want it to be action, action, impact, action, quick, which is fine. It left me desiring a lot more. I was kind of disappointed. Night 2 was honestly nowhere near as good as Night 1. Nowhere near as good as far as in-ring ability or in-ring action. Absolutely not. The spectacle of Night 2 was really good. Still doesn't hold really a candle to Night 1, because Night 1 you had the return of Cody, you had the return of Steve Austin. So yeah, no. Like Night 2 was the worst night, but it had some good things. I thought the Johnny Knoxville thing was great, the Pat McAfee thing was great. Everything else, the tag team match was really great. Everything else kind of underwhelmed, but that's where we are. If I were to rate this night individually as a WrestleMania, I would probably give it like a 6.5, maybe a 7 if I'm being generous. Because look, the stuff that was really good was really good. The stuff that was bad was just meh. So that's kind of where it stands. Overall, this WrestleMania, if we put it all together, the spectacle, everything, the stupendousness, I know a lot of people are out there saying this is a top 5 WrestleMania of all time. I'm not willing to go that far. I think Night 1 makes it a lot better than it is. I would say maybe a top 10 WrestleMania. I'll have to process this really over the next few weeks to really understand what this means in the history of WWE. But overall, for both nights, this WrestleMania, I'm going to give it a 7.5 to an 8, because there was a lot of great, memorable, historic stuff that happened on this show on both nights. And look, Roman Reigns finally beat Brock Lesnar. That's also something that I think is going to be talked about, and he unified the belts. So a lot of stuff I liked on Night 1. Not as much stuff I liked on Night 2, but the spectacle on Night 2 was also pretty good. And that's our review for WrestleMania. Guys, let me know what you guys thought about WrestleMania. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I've been Umar Q for Real Take Sports. And remember, keep it real.